Chapter 1. 113, 6th year, the box. The Quidditch stands on a Sunday were one of the only places you were guaranteed some peace and quiet at Hogwarts. Remus had been going there every week since his birthday to catch the tail end of James's Spartan training sessions and to have a flying lesson of his own afterwards. This morning, however, as he limped into the stands, he found that he was not alone.
"Hiya, Lily. What are you doing here?"
Remus beamed, surprised. Lily spun around and blinked at him, mouth open in a small pink O, as if she had not expected anyone else. Her eyes darted to the pitch, then back to Remus nervously, and she gave a sheepish grin.
"Hi, just watching Miles practice. Moral support and all that."
"Oh, right. Mind if I join you?"
She smiled and shifted her bag, as if to make room for him, though the stands were completely empty. They sat quietly and watched the practice for a bit. James was drilling the chasers and the keeper, so only half the team was there today. Remus vaguely remembered James's Focus Sessions initiative, which had come as a relief to the rest of the Gryffindor team, as it meant they didn't actually have to practice every day, even if James did.
Lily, did you know that Marlene isn't practicing today?"
Remus said, after a while. She looked down at her knees, her hair falling in a coppery sheet in front of her face.
"Yes."
She whispered.
"So you're here to watch?"
"Don't make me say it, Remus. Go on then, let me have it."
She sounded defeated. She raised her head, pushing her hair behind her ear.
"What?"
Remus was amused. Prefect Lily Evans, all come undone. Sirius would love it.
"Tease me, make fun of me, tell me I'm a complete idiot. I already know."
She sighed, looking out at the pitch.
"I don't think you're an idiot just for fancying James. But, it is a bit funny, after all this time."
Remus laughed, nudging her jovially.
"Ugh, I know. I can't bloody believe it."
"Does he know?"
"No, I'd absolutely die."
She stared at him in disbelief.
"Why? You don't honestly think he'll turn you down? He's been hoping for this exact thing for 5 years.
Remus laughed again.
"Exactly. He's wanted it forever, and I've only wanted it for, well, maybe a little while, actually. But nowhere near as long. If I give in now, he's so intense. I might break his heart,"
she said, gesturing wildly with her hands, spreading out her fingers in a show of exasperation. She bit her lip, still watching him flying, blowing his whistle and pointing emphatically at the goal rings.
"You might. But I think James Potter would consider it an honor to have his heart broken by you."
She snorted.
"Remus, honestly, you sound as bad as he does. I'm not this, I don't know, perfect dream girl who's going breeze into his life and make all the crap stuff wonderful. It's not a fairy tale. I'm not a fairy tale. I'm really annoying. I'm a complete mess in the mornings. Ask Mary. And I hate losing arguments, and I shout when I'm angry, and my nose runs when I cry. I don't know anything about Quidditch, and I don't really want to learn either."
"So? I'm pretty sure he knows most of that. If he doesn't, then I don't think it'll hurt for him to find out. Anyway, it's not as if James is perfect. I've smelled his socks."
Remus smiled. Lily laughed.
"Thanks, Remus."
"Going to tell him?"
She wrinkled her freckled nose.
"Nah. Want to think about it a bit more first."
"Just going to stare at him riding his broom for hours on end?"
She shoved him, laughing.
"If I want to. He's easy on the eye, what can I say?"
She poked out her tongue and returned to gawping. Remus smiled and dredged up the only real piece of advice he had.
"Don't leave it too long. It gets harder, the longer you wait."
Lily looked at him, curiously, and Remus instantly regretted saying anything.
"Oh yeah? You seem very wise in the ways of love all of a sudden."
"Nah, I just read lots."
He laughed, he hoped convincingly.
"Black, next time you decide to break someone's heart, can you do it outside of the exam period?"
Lily groaned as Sirius entered the common room, and every radio, turntable and gramophone within 20 meters began blaring P.P. Arnold's tragedy-stricken voice.
"What do you want me to do about it?"
Sirius raged, storming about the room, trying to mute every speaker in sight. It had been a painful, drawn-out melodrama, but Emmeline and Sirius had finally split. and apparently nobody treated Emmeline Vance like that, so in retaliation, she had placed a very advanced hex on him, which meant that every time he entered a room, breakup, songs began to play. This was usually limited to music players, but occasionally, when there was nothing else about, the portraits had begun to burst into song too.
Just apologise to her and get the bloody spell lifted,
Lily replied.
I've got nothing to apologize for. Silencio! Silencio, silencio, silencio!
He spat back forcefully. The music finally stopped. Who knew for how long? Remus didn't get involved. He could only make it worse, and Sirius had been in a foul mood all week.
Got to give it to the girl. She's creative.
Mary mused. She was straddling Marlene, who lay on her front on the rug, Mary plaiting her long blonde hair. Every time she got to the end, she would unravel it all, comb it out gently, and begin again. Sometimes Remus didn't think he'd ever understand girls. Still, Marlene, who usually hated being fussed over, seemed to be quite enjoying it. She looked very peaceful.
Oh yeah, go on, take her side, you lot. Bloody women. Anyone got a fag?
Sirius threw himself into the armchair opposite Lily and slouched into it, glaring at the fire. Remus did, but he didn't say anything.
Not surprised she dumped you. You're a miserable git these days. I'm well shot of you.
Mary grinned. She gave him a joking wink, and his frown diminished.
You love me, really?
He muttered.
Let's talk about something else. Not exams or bloody relationships. Potter, what's going on with this camping trip?
Marlene said from the floor.
All sorted. You lot just need to show up, with your tents, obviously.
James grinned.
Dad says I can borrow the family ones, as long as I take care of them. Two sleepers.
Cozy, with 7 of us going.
Sirius said, sarcastically.
8. James said I could bring Dorcas.
Peter piped up. Remus groaned inwardly at that. Not that he didn't like Dorcas. Dorcas was fine, but he had been looking forward to a summer holiday with all of his closest friends, not tag-alongs. Thank goodness Mary wasn't bringing her latest boyfriend, though with Mary, the turnover was too fast to make any kind of long-term plans.
Well, I was rather hoping that you boys would bring your own tent, actually.
Lily replied, giving Sirius a frosty look.
Mum said in her last letter that there's a Muggle camping supply shop in our village, so we'll all go at Get Ours as soon as we're home. You're definitely coming to stay this summer, right, Mooney?
James said quickly, ever the peacemaker.
If it's still okay?
Remus asked, anxiously. He still didn't have a plan B. Maybe James would let him keep one of the tents afterwards. Ugh, what a depressing thought.
Of course, this summer is going to be great.
James grinned magnanimously, rubbing his hands together.
How are we getting to Cornwall? Apparating?
If we've all passed, yeah.
They looked at Peter, guiltily. He'd still not quite managed to get anywhere without splinching himself yet.
I'm really trying. I could get the night bus,
he said, embarrassed.
It'll be fine, I promise. Best summer ever.
James said cheerily. Friday, June 24th, 1977. And really, Remus thought to himself, as he left his last exam of the term, Care of Magical Creatures, written, thank goodness for James's eternal optimism. It was one of the only things that kept any of them going these days. Exams were the same as they ever had been. Easier, maybe, at least when it came to practical magic. Fortunately, no one expected a Patronus this year. There was something reassuring about a timetable, though, and deadlines and timed exercises. It all made good common sense and didn't encourage too much independent thought. Remus was always grateful for an opportunity to switch off his brain, especially as he had set himself a very personal deadline of his own. Once his final exam was over, and today was the day, he would open the shoebox. It had been sitting under his bed for the better part of 3 months now. He had not so much as glanced at it. Whatever was in it would be disruptive, he knew that. Even if it was nothing more than some boring notes from matron, old schoolwork or something, he knew that just thinking about the whole St. Edmund's problem was going to drag him down eventually. He told himself that it was very sensible and mature. He needed a clear head for exams. But it was late June now, and he had nothing left to do. Of course, there was always something to do. Newts would begin in earnest next year. He ought to get a head start. There was talk about an end-of-year party, and he could start preparing for that. He really ought to catch up on his reading for Madame Pomfrey's healing classes too. He was woefully behind on bruises. He ate lunch first. Unpleasant experiences were generally better faced on a full stomach. There were exams scheduled that afternoon for Muggle studies and divination, both of which James and Sirius were taking.
Mooney, what are hot air balloons for? I still don't get it.
James pleaded, looking very frazzled.
You'll be fine. Muggle studies should be easy for you, after advanced transfiguration.
Lily said, pouring herself some pumpkin juice.
Wow, thanks, Evans.
James beamed. Everyone looked at Lily, who blushed and returned to her food.
I've still never seen anything in a crystal ball.
Peter sighed deeply.
Tell her you see a Grim. That's what I'm doing.
Sirius said cheerfully.
Why a Grim?
I just have a feeling she might actually see one tomorrow afternoon at about 2 o'clock.
Sirius smirked. James and Peter began to laugh, much to the girls' confusion. Remus loitered outside the Great Hall for as long as he could with his friends, until they all had to go in for the exam. Putting it off a few minutes won't hurt. But eventually, it was time to face the music. After all, the sooner he did it, the longer he'd have by himself to actually process it. Even if it was nothing, even if he only had to cope with another disappointment, he had a good book on hand and full access to Sirius's record collection, so the afternoon didn't have to be completely unpleasant. He drew the curtains around his bed, even though he was alone in the dorm room. He blew the dust from the cardboard lid, and it made him cough.
Scourgify.
He choked, aiming his wand at his sheets to rid them of the nasty grey matter. No going back now. As quickly as ripping off a plaster, he lifted the lid. At first, it all looked completely harmless. Everything inside was flat, papers presumably, sorted into neat brown envelopes of varying sizes, varying ages. His admission papers to St. Edmund's, Remus John Lupin, 5 years 3 months. Arrival date 12th of July 1965. Reports written by his primary school teachers. All of the marks were poor. Shows very little aptitude for academia. One read, incapable of learning, may suit unskilled work, fucking bitches. His birth certificate. It was a muggle one. He supposed his mother had not been admitted to St. Mungo's. Remus learnt that he had been born at home, in Bristol, of all places. His mother's name was Hope, and his father was listed as unemployed. All of this, Remus worked through with impassive patience, like an archivist sifting through documents relating to some ancient history, not his own life. But then came the photographs. They were black and white. Muggle. Unmoving. One of a chubby baby dressed in some white knitted affair, with buttons shaped like bunny rabbits. Remus supposed it was him. There was nothing written on the back, only the stamp from Boots. There was another, which must have been taken when he arrived at St. Edmund's. In it, he was able to recognise some features. The dark, cautious stare, the mouth set in a determined grimace. He was looking up at whoever was taking the photo, presumably, and he looked frightened. The last picture was the worst. It was of a family he did not remember. There was Lyall, tall and slim and gangly, tousled hair and small, wire-framed spectacles. He was smiling. Remus never pictured him smiling. Sitting in a floral armchair beside him was a small, very young-looking woman. She had immaculate platinum blonde hair in a proper 60s beehive, and she was wearing a neat shirtwaister which showed off her pretty figure. Her nose was a bit long and beakish, but she had a nice face. On her lap was a little boy, giggling, his face all creased up with joy. She was looking at him. Her mouth was open. What had she been saying? Remus put it down, feeling light-headed. He realised he'd been holding his breath for a long time, and exhaled. There was one envelope left. The handwriting on it was not matron's. It hadn't been sealed, though, so maybe she'd read it before. Maybe that's why she hadn't given it to him. Steeling himself once more, Remus pulled out a letter, folded neatly in thirds. It was written on pretty notepaper with a floral design at the borders. The handwriting was pretty, too.
My darling boy, I know I've no right to leave you this letter. It may be a good few years before you receive it, if you receive it at all. I hope that you do, and I hope that when you do, you'll be old enough. Still, I don't expect forgiveness. I can't think what to tell you. How can I explain? You were my beautiful, precious boy from the moment you were born. No, from the moment I felt you move inside me. Your father and I loved each other very much, and having you tripled our happiness 1,000 times over. You were loved, my little Remus. I pray you haven't forgotten it. But you're very young, and they tell me that sometimes forgetting is kindest. When the accident happened, I promised you I would do everything I could to make it right again. I had some stupid idea that just loving you would be enough. Then when Lyall left us both, I tried for you. I swear tried. But I was never a very clever girl, and never as strong or practical as your father. You needed so much, and I had so little. I had no family once I married him, you see. They told me to make a choice. My parents didn't approve, and even after he'd gone, I knew they wouldn't approve of you. I can't say how sorry I am to let you go. In my heart, I know it's the safest thing, and the best for you, in the end. I know I will never forget you, and I know I will always long to see you again. I pray that when the time comes, I shall not be difficult for you to find. All my love, Hope Jenkins.
Remus put the letter back in the envelope and closed the box. He threw the box under the bed. He climbed underneath his heavy covers and curled up small, like he used to at St. Edmund's. He felt as if a hole had been opened up inside of him, a big, gaping emptiness. Tears picked his eyes, and because he was alone, he let them come. Saturday, July 2nd, 1977. He'd never given his mother much thought, at least not since he'd been at Hogwarts, which seemed so full of Lyall and all his achievements and mistakes. Obviously, it would have been better to have a mother than not, but he wasn't sure what he'd been missing all that time. Matron hadn't been very maternal, but she wasn't paid to love the boys she looked after. This window into Hope's life, into his own life, was terrifying to Remus, and he wished he'd never read the stupid letter. Still, he read it more than once. He read it every night, for the rest of the term, as if reading the word loved could make him feel it. It couldn't. The Marauders stayed an extra 2 nights at Hogwarts, for Remus's sake. The first full moon of the summer fell on the 1st of July, and it was more convenient, not to mention safer for the Potters, if Remus spent it in the Shrieking Shack. Well, he was supposed to be in the Shrieking Shack, but of course Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs had other ideas. Free of exams and excited about the summer, they had one of the best full moon nights they'd had in ages. Still, Madame Pomfrey insisted on the usual course of aftercare and knocked Remus out with a strong sleeping draught to ensure he rested through the next morning.
Travelling by flu powder can make you queasy at the best of times. Better safe than sorry,
she cautioned. They were due to travel that evening, using the fireplace in McGonagall's office. Remus woke up just after lunch and found he was not alone.
Hiya, Moony,
Sirius said softly, sitting in the chair by his bed. His eyes were dark. He looked as though he had been dozing too.
Hiya. You ought to be in bed. You look knackered.
Shut up. I look gorgeous. Anyway, James is tearing the bedroom apart trying to pack. I wouldn't get any sleep. Hungry?
Sirius replied, yawning.
Always.
Good. I'm supposed to make sure you eat.
He motioned to a plate sitting on the bedside table, loaded with fruit and sandwiches. Remus picked up an apple and bit into it, ravenous. Neither of them said much for a while, but Sirius ate a few grapes. Since March, they had perfected the art of making small talk with as little detail or eye contact as possible. You could call it a friendship if you didn't know what had come before.
I feel a bit bad,
Sirius said, out of the blue, looking at his shoelaces.
I feel a bit bad about the way I spoke to you a while ago. About your friend, Christopher?
Yeah. You were a bit rude, but it's okay. I haven't thought about it much.
Remus finished his apple core, down the stem, which he put down, reaching for a sandwich next. Cheese and pickle.
Oh, that's good. I thought he might be the reason you decided to stop.
Sirius nodded. He looked at Remus, then quickly diverted his gaze out of the window. Remus didn't need to ask what he meant. Sirius was being very clear.
No, it wasn't to do with him. I told you he's my friend, that's all.
Remus said, choosing his words carefully.
Yeah, I believe you. I do.
Sirius nodded, bravely. He still didn't understand, Remus realized, sadly. He still didn't know why they couldn't just carry on the way they were. Stupid, beautiful, impossible boy.
Look, Sirius. I've had a bit of a shit year, to be honest. Maybe I'm having a shit life, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment that I can't really control. So the way I see it, if something's making me miserable that I can control, then...
Oh, right. I get it.
Yeah?
I would never want to make you miserable, Moony.
That's not what I meant, Remus thought. That's not what I wanted to say. But he didn't have the energy for more. Didn't have the resources. It would have to do, at least until everything stopped being so raw.
Are those voices I hear?
Madame Pomfrey came bustling around the hospital curtain, merry and rosy-cheeked.
Well, you're looking much better. Looking forward to summer, boys.